Perfect. So, doctor, if you permit us, I'll ask Anuva to introduce you.
Sure. Yes, we can go ahead.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Welcome to the Epigenetics Control of Human Happiness webinar. My name is Anuva Attarde, and I'm a member of the program committee at Attarde Foundation. Today, I have the great privilege of introducing our guest speaker. He is known for his work in genetic counseling and testing, as well as the Down syndrome specialty clinic, through which he helps empower and enable individuals with Down syndrome and their families in India by providing healthcare, various therapies, recreational activities, and special education. He's actively creating public awareness about genetic health in the state of Maharashtra. He has completed his MBBS, MS in Human Anatomy, Ph.D. in Medical Genetics, BA in Kirtan Alankar, MBA, and he holds many other academic qualifications. He is currently the director of the Genetic Health and Research Center in Nashik, and he is the founder president of the Down Syndrome Care Association. He is also the founder director of Museum Koham, and he is the PCP NDT State Advisory Board member of the Government of Maharashtra. In addition, he is a consultant at the Maharashtra University of Health Sciences and a visiting professor teaching anatomy at Medical College, Warangal. And also, he is a professor at the Institute of Medical Genetics. Today, he will be speaking about the epigenetic controls of human happiness. So please join me in welcoming our talented and highly qualified speaker, Dr. Dnyandeo Chopade.
Great. Thank you, Anuva. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever suits you, wherever you are. Welcome to this talk on epigenetics of happiness. So it is labeled as epigenetic controls of happiness. So let me say something about happiness, right? So as it says, epigenetics of happiness. We all are very crazy people, right? Every one of us on this call and those who are not on this call, everyone, we are crazy people. Crazy for what? Crazy for happiness. We are pursuing happiness throughout our life by whatever way it is possible. I can see some of the crazy friends of mine here. So as I'm going through the screen, I can see number of doctor friends. Yeah. So Dnyandeo Chopade is there. Gajanan, welcome. Thank you for joining. Dr. Sandhya Khedekar, ma'am, welcome. Thank you for joining. Dr. Kulkarni is there. Dr. Shabana is there. Yeah. I'm happy to see Charudat. Welcome. Great to see you all. Deepak, thank you. Ashish, Dr. Prasad Kulkarni, great to see you all. All crazy people, right? Can I request you all to be on the video as far as possible, if it is possible for you? Great, thank you so much. Narkede Sahib, Amlangi, thank you. Prasad. Great. Dr. Jasmine, thank you so much. Great. So our topic, epigenetics of happiness. And happiness is something that we all are chasing. We are pursuing. Not only we, humans on this planet so far, all the humans right now, and those who will be coming, all, where are and will be pursuing happiness. And unfortunately, very few of us are aware of what real happiness is. So if you look at whatever we are doing, trying to earn money, earn property, name, fame, degrees, getting married, having children, manipulating people and the surroundings, we are all the way trying to find happiness, trying to hold on to it, trying to get it back. And when we don't get it, we ask people, we ask ourselves, how can I get happy? So we read books. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of books available. Now in the era of internet, there are thousands of videos available on happiness, how to be happy, how to get happy. For thousands and thousands of years, the pursuit that we have been following, pursuit of happiness scientifically, spiritually, and there are a number of, you can say, the ways people are coming with to be and to make others happy. The latest science in all different scientific disciplines, if you look at what are they trying to do, is just trying to find out what can make us as humans, as human race, happy. Right now, at this moment, if you ask the question yourself, am I happy right now? What is the answer? Is that answer consistent with what we're talking about as happiness? So let us put it another way. Sometime in our lifetime, we have experienced the moment when we were experiencing that deep connection with our own self, being one with self, not worried about anything, not wanting anything. There was nothing to give and nothing to get. There was nothing wrong anywhere with us, with people around, with the world around. We all have experienced such moments, but only those such moments only. At all the other times, we have been chasing those moments. So I want you to get present, just get present to that moment in your life when you experience that. It might be anything for you. It might be something happened in your life and you got to that, you got that experience. Where there was nothing but you and only you and pure happiness. And if I ask you to just remember that moment right now, maybe some of you would be able to remember that. Maybe most of you might have a hazy memory of that. Just if you try to remember that, or just remember that right now, what does that look like? What does happiness look like? What does you being happy look like right now? So I'll be giving you a few seconds to just create that experience, because we're talking about the topic which is universal, very near and dear to every one of us, and all the time we are chasing it. But then we are unaware of what we are chasing. So getting present to that, or getting aware of that state of being, what we call as happiness. And then looking at what are the factors. So we are not going to talk about everything about in a limited time span. I'll be talking about the epigenetics of that. So I'm giving you few moments, few seconds. wherever you are seated or maybe lying down or standing, just relax. Close your eyes and just remember that moment. The moment when you experience that bliss. That purity within, where there was nothing wrong, there was nothing wanted, there was nothing to be avoided. You were fully contented, happy, satisfied, fulfilled. Maybe the moment is few days back, few months back, few years back, maybe childhood memory, whatever. One moment, just get present to that. What was that state of being happy? What were you experiencing? What sensations you experience right now when you remember that? In your body, what kind of experience you are having? Just being with that, getting present to it. Any emotions you have? Any feelings you have? Any thoughts that are associated, they are coming in, going out. Just get present to that moment of blissfulness, happiness. And now ask the question, is this what we're talking about? Is this what we are pursuing? Or is what we are pursuing different than the experience of being happy? Running behind all those physicalities, money, assets, property, degrees, names and fames, and whatever. Waiting for something to happen to make you happy. That is what we have been doing all the time. With this experience now, we are ready to look at epigenetics of happiness. So, to define it briefly, happiness is a state of being when you don't have any thought coming in. There is no past, there is no future. You are just present to being human, being alive. There is nothing wrong, nothing to be changed, nothing to be got, nothing to be pushed, nothing to hate. Just being present here and now. This is the experience you have. You can have this experience with you being with something or someone. Maybe when you are being with someone, so engrossed that the whole world doesn't exist for you. You are being one with that person in dance. Or whatever you are doing, you are pursuing, you are doing. And when you are doing something and you are engrossed 100% there, being with that, in dance with that, nothing else is there. That moment, being present here and now, is what we call as a state of happiness. If you inquire, ask yourself, what does it really look like? I'm sure most of you must have gone through the experiences of deep meditation, wherein we enter into nothingness, like your body doesn't exist. There are no feelings, no thoughts, no emotions, no world out, but still you exist. And you are aware that you exist. And in that moment of being present to that self, you create something in this world. You commit yourself to something bigger. And that something bigger is guiding your life thereafter, is creating happiness. Being happiness and creating happiness out of that for self and for others. Maybe right now we are in the states of happiness of different grades on a scale of, if we plot a scale of happiness, maybe from completely unhappy to extremely happy. Somewhere we are there. When you are extremely happy, so excited being alive, as in you are the owner of this universe. You are one with it. You are not separate from it. That blissfulness. And at other end, you are so unhappy that you are always so upset, so irritable, so small human being, full of complaints that the world is not going to help you anyway, lethargic, wanting so many things but not doing anything. On this scale, somewhere we are there. Now, why are we talking about this? Because we're talking about happiness and the role of epigenetics into that. So if we look at the scientific pursuits in the form of various research happening in the different disciplines, psychiatry, psychology, neuroscience, sociology, biotechnology, genetics, whatever you look at, politics, the only purpose is the purpose of being happy and making others happy. And we're trying to find out different means and ways, and we are not getting happy through those means and ways. Maybe most of you are committed for regular exercise, for a healthy diet, for yogasanas, yoga sadhana, meditation. You are doing ongoingly number of courses, attending number of programs. All that is all about happiness. Logically speaking, we conclude that certain things make us happy. Certain lifestyles make us happy in long term. And we don't know how do they do that. So we'll be talking about that. Let us ask the question. Are we happy by nature? As you were born, I was born, every baby is born. Is that born with happiness? We say that when we are born, we are being with ourselves. There is nothing here in the head. There is nothing right and wrong. There is nothing good and bad. Whatever is there is there. As a new human being, we are just being with that. And then as we grow, something happens. Something happens. And that something makes us conclude, decide to do or not to do something. To like or not like something. To go for or avoid something. By nature, we all are happy. We are born that way. So I'll give you some example. Anwa, can you share the slide, please? Perfect. So what you see here, next slide. The slide of monkeys, yes. Yeah. So here is one of the very powerful, very popular experiment of monkeys. Maybe most of you have read about it, listened about it, heard about it, but look at it newly, completely newly, as in this is about you right now. So the experiment was 5 monkeys were kept in a cage. And in that cage on top, there was a bunch of bananas hanging. And there was a cage, there was a ladder in that cage, the ladder which was reaching the roof. As soon as the monkeys saw the banana, they started walking up the ladder to get the banana. So the experiment is this way. They see the banana and they start walking, climbing the ladder to get the banana. And when they start climbing, the experimenter, the scientist, sprays the climbing monkey and the other 4 monkeys with ice cold water. Very forcibly, very cold, chilled water. The climbing monkey climbs down without banana. Is terrified. Another monkey starts climbing up. The experimenter again sprays the ice cold water on each of them. The climbing monkey again comes down. This is repeated every time. The monkey starts climbing up. All the monkeys, including the one which is climbing up, is sprayed with the ice cold water. And the monkey comes down. Now, every time when some monkey starts climbing up, all other monkeys, they get terrified and they pull that monkey down and start beating the monkey. There comes a time when none of these 5 monkeys climb up the ladder to get the banana. There is a banana, which would otherwise make them happy. But now seeing the banana, they are terrified. Now the experimenter removes one of the 5 monkeys and replace it with new monkey. So the new monkey, as soon as it enters the cage, it starts climbing the ladder. The other 4 monkeys, the old monkeys, pull it down and beat it up. Again, same thing happens. Now the experimenter removes one more old monkey and puts second new monkey. The second new monkey also does the same thing, starts climbing up. The other 4 monkeys, including the first new one, start pulling the climbing monkey down and beat it up. Slowly, one by one, all the old monkeys are replaced. And whenever a new monkey starts climbing the ladder, the other monkeys the other monkeys pull it down and beat it up. Not knowing why. Every time the monkey climbs up, one monkey climbs up, the other get terrified. They are in terror. They pull the other monkey down and beat it up. None of the monkey knows now why are they doing what they are doing. That becomes the social norm in that cage. As soon as monkey starts climbing the ladder, others are afraid, get stressed, beat the climbing monkey, unaware. As the monkeys are sprayed with ice cold water, the early monkeys, as they start climbing the ladder, repeated, they experience the stress and are afraid of going for the banana. Later, any other monkey climbing a ladder, all of them experience the same terror. They get unhappy looking at the banana. So banana which otherwise would make them happy, would bring them into action. Now just that the sight of that is creating the terror. As a matter of this experience, those monkeys who were never sprayed with ice cold water also experience the terror of others attacking them. And then that becomes the inbuilt behavior of the monkeys in that cage. We all are those monkeys. We are afraid of so many things in our lives, either through our direct experiences that we got in our early life while interacting with our parents or teachers or people around, or the circumstances, the rest of the world, either direct experiences or indirect experiences that our parents said, do, don't do. This is right, this is wrong. Punished us without them also knowing why they are saying, why they are doing what they are doing, why they are saying what they are saying. We are imposed number of constraints on ourselves. We have imposed those constraints without knowing why. Now, has it to do something with our epigenetic controls? Let us look at that. So, yeah, Anuva, next slide. Yeah. So what you see here in this slide, just hold on. Yeah. You can see a baby turtle. We all know that maybe some of you know that the turtle babies, they are born alone. Mother turtle lays the eggs and never returns back there. So the baby turtles, they hatch out of the cell with all that they need to know to survive. They can walk, they swim, they hide from predators, find their own food, and their mothers never return them back. The eggs and the hatchings are left to fend for themselves and locate the water upon emerging. Next slide. What would happen, inquire, if humans were like turtles alone at birth with no mom to guide them? For many animal species, including humans, not humans, but many animal species, instincts guide survival. But human babies are so dependent, so susceptible, so unwise that way, that they can't survive alone without their mother. Nurturing the infant, human infant, is crucial for survival and for development. Just get present to this. This is something which is very critical to get when we're talking of epigenetics of happiness. Let us look at some other experiment which will give us some insight into how critical this is. And one next slide. So there was an experiment conducted. A very famous scientist who made two groups of the rats, mother with their pups. One group was mother licking, grooming, and nursing their pups. And other group was the mother rat was not much concerned about the baby's pups. It was ignoring the pups. So if you see the rats, you will see various kinds of rats. Some of them are really very connected to their pups. Some of them are totally negligent and ignoring their pups. So if we group them in two groups, when these pup rats were followed over a period, when they became adult, when their mother died, what they saw was the highly nurtured rat pups tend to grow up to be calm adults, peaceful, contented, happy as adult rat. Whereas those which were not taken care of properly, which were not nurtured, which were not licked by the mothers, which were ignored, they were anxious as adults. They grew up as completely anxious, distressed, irritable, aggressive, violent adult rats. This is a very famous experiment in psychology as well as genetics. Now, you might think that maybe the rat of these two groups, they are having different genes, and that's why their pups, when they grow, they have different characters. So there was another experiment conducted. These experiments are available on net. You can go through those and actually see the experiments done. So they did another experiment. Next, Arwa. What they did was, as the babies were born, say they grouped the mothers in two groups. The mothers were high grooming and the mothers low grooming, and their pups then were exchanged. So the pup of low grooming mother was given to the mother who was highly attentive and careful, and the pup of high grooming mother was given to the mother who was low attentive or ignorant. And the conclusions were this: it was not important which gene you got from your mother. It was not the biological mother that defined the property of the rats. It is a mother that take care of the pups. So the role of mother, nurturing, caring, cuddling of the baby, decides what that baby is going to grow as an adult and what kind of life that individual is going to live. There are a number of such experiments on animals, on monkeys. Some of the experiments are there on humans also. I'll share with you. This happens. And there is no, you can say, a very there is nothing like you can't understand this, right? So we logically say that the mother which will nurture a child properly, the child will grow. We have been talking about this. We use this in day-to-day practice. Doctors suggest about this. But how does this work is what we're talking about. Why do we need to know that? Because that gives us access to creating happiness then. To creating happiness not only for our new generations, but for you and me and the rest of the world around. That gives us access. Next slide, Anuva. So is it there in our genes? These experiments say it has nothing to do with the biology that we inherit from our mothers. There were a number of experiments done to find out what is the role of genes in our behavior, living, and happiness. And there are a number of studies showing that there are certain genes which are related to happiness. There are genes which are related to stress. So before we look that, let us look at what genes are and what genome is. So genome is the term that we use for all the DNA for a life form on this planet, maybe the rat or monkey or human being, or even a plant, whatever is there, written as the life in the form of DNA script. That is what we call as genome. Human genome is whatever we have inside our nucleus, inside our cells, whatever DNA is there, all that DNA that is packaged in our nucleus in the form of 3 billion base pairs on our 23 pairs of chromosomes. Apart from that, we have some of the DNA present in our mitochondria, the storehouses or the, you can say the energy producing houses. there are about 16,600 base pairs packaged in one circular chromosome inside the mitochondria. There are 37 genes. And in nucleus, there are about 20,000 genes. What is a gene? It is a specific sequence on the DNA that can be expressed into protein and other molecules. So just to give you an example, maybe some of you are on thyroxine tablet. Maybe some of you are on diabetic tablet. Maybe some of you are taking the antihypertensives. You are taking tablets, right? Now, thyroxine as a medicine, because your body is unable to produce thyroxine as a protein. Thyroxine is a protein, a hormone, which is produced by a specific sequence in our DNA. That sequence is what we call as a gene, thyroxine gene. So likewise, we have 20,000 genes inside our nucleus and 37 genes inside the mitochondria. Now, the whole of your body is made up of trillions and trillions of cells, organized in different systems, tissues and systems, and all of them are functioning in very, you can say, very, very much synchrony, harmony. Over a period of time, from beginning as a single cell till you die, continuously changing, new being formed, old dying, and all of this is written inside that genome. How is this happening? So this is what we're talking about, the human genome. So how does this happen? It happens this way. This is what most of us know. Like the gene on our DNA is making the RNA, and this RNA is making the protein. The different polypeptides combined together can form the protein. And the protein is expressed as a structure or function that we are throughout our life. Again, as an example, just to get a clarity, boys become males after a certain age when the level of testosterone increases in their blood. That is secreted by a particular protein, the particular gene, testosterone gene. If that gene is defective, testosterone will not be produced, and the boy born will not become a male. He will not be able to father. He will not be able to express maleness. So there are so many such genes, and there are many more proteins. So this is what genetics is all about. That the whole assembly that you and I are is guided by the script that we have got from our parents on those chromosomes. They got from their parents. So we have been getting this from our ancestors for thousands and thousands of years. This is what genetics is. What has happiness to do with our genes? Is there any correlation of our genes with our happiness? So if we look at that, scientists have found out there is a gene called as 5-HTT-LPR, which is responsible for forming a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter is one of the protein in our nervous system, the brain and the rest of the nerves in conduction. So this serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter of happiness. So whatever experience of happiness you get, that is the biochemical drama created by this serotonin. And there is a gene for making that. I'm an anatomist. As Anuva said, talked about me. I'm basically an anatomist, teaching medical students for the last 25 years. I'm also an embryologist. So I had been working with embryos, the human sperms and eggs, and then fertilizing them in test babies, that the IVF setups, injecting the sperm in the egg, also creating through the ICSI procedure, creating the embryo, seeing them under microscope growing. And I'm also a medical geneticist. So I see how that single cell, which is formed at the beginning, grows into cells and tissues and organs and systems and make you. Moving, speaking, thinking, planning, all that. This growth from the single cell into you that you are right now as a structure and function is what we call as differentiation. So you have got a liver, you have got a brain, you have got a heart and the kidney and different systems. You have got blood. All these systems and cells in those systems are derived from a single cell, the zygote. Where in that single cell zygote, we got all that genetic information from our parents. And as it was given to the subsequent cells which were formed from that cell, from that zygote, every cell got the same DNA. But in this DNA, as we talked about, there are 20,000 genes, plus minus. As they are developing and growing, they are specializing. In a way, some of their genes remain on, the rest of the genes are put off, depending on their function. So cell in the pancreas, which is committed for making insulin, we call beta cell, will have the gene for insulin on. It will not have the genes of brain active in that. There are genes of brain also in the beta cell, but they are put off, switched off. In pancreatic cell. In brain cell, you don't have the gene of insulin on. It is there, but it is switched off. This is what we call as differentiation. And this differentiation is nothing but the programmed epigenetic phenomenon. It is already programmed. Now that it is already programmed, when you are born with that program. You have a heart. In that heart, there are cells called as cardiomyocytes. Those cells are having all the DNA that you have got from your parents, but only the genes which are necessary for performing the heart action are on there. The rest of the genes which are not necessary there are put off. Getting this is crucial. So, as you are born, when you grow, are you the same? So there are a number of studies done in the world of people with different genetic makeup, of people with the same genetic makeup in same environment, in different environments. And we know that people even with the same genetic makeup, with the same programmed epigenetic phenomenon, they become different individuals as they grow. Even genetically identical babies born, when they are provided different environments, they grow as different human beings. When we talk of different human beings, we're talking of being of a human being. We're not talking of being of a human animal. A different kind of human being having all different kinds of attitudes and thoughts and ways of reacting and responding and interacting with self, others, and the world around. We're talking of that. The question is it possible that the mother is somehow reprogramming certain genes of the baby through her behavior? Specifically, those which are related to behavior and feelings and emotions. That's the question we're asking. So this is the most important and critical aspect of happiness in our life. If you are not a baby, you don't have this chance now. But there are other ways where we can get an access to reprogram, and that's why we're talking about this. So the purpose of this talk is you getting at least present that there is an access of creating happiness any moment that you want. And there are ways whereby we can do this. And that is operating through this epigenetic phenomenon. One of the researcher, Alexis Wood, who is the assistant professor of pediatrics and nutrition at the Baylor College of Medicine in Texas. He has found out genetic variations associated with the subjective well-being. subjective well-being, how happy a person thinks or feels about his or her life. There is no objectivity inside of that, okay? He also found 2 genes harboring variants associated with depressive symptoms and 11 genes where variation was associated with neuroticism, madness. There is a huge study conducted in the world involving over 190 researchers in about 140 research centers in 17 countries. And this huge study has located genetic variants associated with happiness and other behavioral traits. And they have found that 30 to 40% of the difference in happiness between people is accounted for by genetic differences between people. So for sure, genetic differences are responsible for a part of happiness. There are certain conditions. As a geneticist, I see these conditions often in my practice. So a condition called as Angelman syndrome. We say the happy baby syndrome. The baby is born and we see the baby always happy, laughing and smiling all the time. And we see that in such babies having the condition called as Angelman syndrome, there is a specific gene, UBE3A, which is inactive from mother's side. Either it is absent. Anua, can you show this slide? Next. Can you go next? Yes. So here this Angelman syndrome is, you see a baby and you can diagnose it with Angelman syndrome. So happy that baby is. Happy baby syndrome, we call it. And it is known to be caused by a number of mechanisms which lead to inactivation of a specific gene, UBE3A, from mother's side. What does it mean? We all got our genes from mother and father. So every gene has got 2 copies, one from mother, other from father. They are in pairs. So this particular gene, UBE3A, if it is inactivated from the mother's side, it is resulting into this condition. Now, this inactivation is epigenetic. It can be the loss of that gene also. There can be some other mechanisms also, but one mechanism that we're talking about right now is inactivation of the gene by the epigenetic mechanism. That epigenetic mechanism is called as methylation. That gene is switched off. There is a gene from the father, but this gene, which we are talking about, actually functions in the brain. And because of its inactive nature in the brain, the baby is happy. There are a number of conditions wherein we see unhappiness associated with certain gene errors. Very common. Autistic spectrum disorder, autism is very common. Like so many babies are born every day with autism. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. We have started finding out number of genes involved in causation of this autism. So definitely there are genes associated. Let us look at epigenetics of this. So we talked about genetics. In brief, genetics is all about your biology, your systems, your potentials, biological potentials. But how are these biological potentials utilized? How do you experience being alive? How do you behave with yourself, others, and the world? Is that genetic? We're talking of that, epigenetics. So we're talking of epigenetics of happiness. What is epigenetics? So let us consider that our genetics is in the form of a book. In the book, everything is written. There are 23 chapters. In each chapter, there are thousands of pages. On each page, there is a specific message given. These are the genes. Where it is written how to make a protein. What is epigenetics? Epigenetics is these genes, whether they will be expressed or not, depends on whether they are methylated or not methylated. Consider that the gene is switched off, meaning that page can't be read. In that book of your life, that particular page cannot be read. Protein will not be formed. So, as I said, in our body, as we are born, in different systems, some of the genes are switched off, some are switched on, and these are system specific. When this mechanism goes wrong, consider. As an example, as I said, like consider, for example, in the pancreas islets of Langerhans cells, the insulin making gene is switched off. It is not on in either cell. It is not making insulin. The baby is born. You have to give insulin all the time. The baby will not survive without insulin from outside, because that gene is switched off. That switching off of the gene, which otherwise would have been on, is causing an error, causing a problem in your health, in your well-being. Certain genes should be switched off. Like, for example, the gene responsible for cell division inside our body, because inside our body, all the time cells are dividing as they are required at a specific frequency. If the genes which control this are switched off, what will happen? The cells will start growing enormously without control, leading to cancer. So a lot of research is happening in the area of cancer about epigenetics. What will happen about those genes which are supposed to be off, but they are put on by certain abnormal epigenetic mechanisms? For example, the oncogene, which can cause a cell to divide and redivide, if it is switched on, it will again result into cancer. In a brain cell, the gene which is there already, gene for making insulin, which normally should be switched off, but by epigenetic mechanism it is switched on, then the brain cell will start making insulin. Epigenetics is simple to understand that way. If we go scientifically, there is a lot that we can talk about. There are different mechanisms which can cause the gene switch off or on. But for us right now at this moment, it is enough to understand that the mechanism is putting the gene off or on. And the common mechanism we talk about is DNA methylation, wherein the methyl groups are getting attached to the base pairs of DNA of the gene. There are other mechanisms called as histone modifications, where the DNA is wound around the histones and the DNA is compacted and is not open and accessible for the protein production, or it can be even blocked by the microRNAs. There are different mechanisms of doing that. How your behaviors and environments can cause changes that affect the way your genes work without changing the sequence of DNA. Change in a sequence of DNA, irreversible change, is what we call as a mutation. Here we are not talking about mutation. We are not talking of change in DNA sequence. Your life book is as written as it is. But the genes are either switched off or switched on, and that is what results into the different behavioral patterns. It's long been known that certain early experiences in our life, as we were born, as we were children, as we were studying, like abuse, family strife, quarrels in family all the time, stressful situations in the families, your neglect, emotional neglect, it increases your chance for depression, drug abuse, anxiety, heart disease, so many other conditions. This we know for a long time, but the mechanism behind this was unclear. A researcher from McGill University, Mini, he did a lot of work in this area. He's a brain researcher, and he found the connection at a primary level between this epigenetic mechanism and our behavioral pattern as we grow. How does this hold true for humans? So like rats or monkeys, we can't do experiments on humans, right? We can't administer adversity to humans. They say, so like we can expose the monkey to a very high, very chilled water. We can expose the rat to food deprivation. We can't do that for humans. But nature is doing the experiments with humans, all of us. There is an experiment that was done on the human babies exposed to natural disaster. In Canada, in the year 1998, specifically in Quebec, there was a natural disaster, very hard natural disaster. There was ice storm in 98, and that resulted into loss of electricity for a very long time in that region, the whole of that region. Temperatures were very low. The climate was deadly. Mothers were pregnant at that time. All people were exposed. The mothers were also exposed. So these pregnant mothers were followed over a period of 15 years thereafter. The babies were born, and these born babies were followed over 15 years. Scientist Susan King did this experiment. And over this period of 15 years, what she saw was that the babies whose mothers were exposed to that storm, and as they are born with the conditions they are living into, more the stress, more the children were developed into autism, metabolic diseases, and autoimmune diseases. Percentage wise, most of these babies which were born to these mothers were having autism, metabolic diseases, and autoimmune diseases. Now, when their genes and the epigenome was mapped. Now, when I say epigenome, like we can read your whole genome today. So we can read the DNA from end to end on all the chromosomes. That is what genome is. Likewise, we can even study the epigenome, which genes are switched on and which are switched off, like what is expected and what is there. And when that epigenome of all the children was mapped, the genes which were expected to be green, they were red. Anua, can you share that slide? Can you go next? Next. Yes. So on this slide, you can see that diagrammatic, the picture of that epigenome mapping, visual picture. The genes which were expected to be greens naturally, normally becoming red as the stress increased. And the red genes, which were supposed to be red normally, naturally, they becoming green as the stress increases. The entire epigenome of these children was different than the unexposed children. So this gives us the idea that the circumstances, the environment, and the maternal state of being when the baby is inside the womb, and when the baby is even born, the maternal state, the way she nurtures the child, actually reprograms the genome. Genes which are supposed to be on, some of them are put off. Genes that are supposed to be off, some of them are put on. And this results into various ways of behavior, resulting into totally different kind of human beings. So we have seen the experiment of rat. The difference between calm and anxious rat is not genetic. It is epigenetic. The nurturing behavior of a mother rat during the first week of life shapes her pup's epigenomes. So like book is there, but in that book, number of pages are actually inked. You can't read them. And those which were supposed to be inked and closed, they are on. You can read them. How a mother nurtures a child decides that programming. And the epigenetic pattern that mom establishes tends to stay out even after the pups become adults. And this epigenetic programming is guiding you throughout your life. What you think, what you do, what you believe, how you behave, all that is controlled and guided by this epigenetic script created by the rearing of the mother. Scientists also found that the pups reared by low-licking mothers carried the methyl mark on genes that normally inhibit stress responses, resulting into high stress. So epigenetics is not only about switching certain genes off. It is also about putting on certain genes which otherwise would have been normally off. Anwar, next slide. Here on this slide, you can see some explanation for that. So there is a gene called as GR gene or glucocorticoid receptor gene. We all have that at birth. During development, this gene is methylated. At birth, it is methylated and inactive. At birth, this gene is methylated, means it is inactive. It is not functional. When it was studied in the attentive rat mothers, the baby's GR gene gets demethylated. That methylation on that gene means that gene is now switched on. The gene becomes active, and as a result, the puppies become relaxed. Whereas when it was studied in the pups of the inattentive rat mothers, it was found that the GR gene does not demethylate. It remains switched off. It is inactive. It results into the pups which grow as anxious and stressed adults. So this is the physiology and the biochemistry of that happiness. Next. Yeah. On humans, there was one more study that was done on the people who committed suicide. One of the scientists, McGowan, he did the study and he divided the people who committed suicide into two groups: those who committed suicide and were abused as child, and those who committed suicide but were not abused as child. In this study group, they found in their brain a part of brain called as hippocampus, which is very, very essential and critical for our emotional state. That was studied, and in that they found the decreased level of this GR protein. Whereas in those control group who were not abused as child, the level of GR was normal. This shows that even later in life, such as those leading a suicide, do not actually alter genetic makeup. Rather, it is early childhood interactions that cause epigenetic changes leading to adult behavior. And this data is consistent with the data that we got from rat and the monkey experiment. Next. So we are about 4 or 5 slides to go. So Pramod, how much time can I take?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we go ahead. We have time.
Perfect.
Need to finish.
Yes. So again, if you look at this slide, parental neglect basically, parents neglecting a child creates stress for the child. This increases the amount of methyl group in the body. This increased methyl binds to certain regions in the genome. One of the region is genome producing receptors for estrogen. This gets methylated. So there these methyl groups will go and they will bind to this gene. Receptor for estrogen. So gene producing receptor for estrogen, it is blocked. And as a result, there are few estrogen receptors. This results into low oxytocin level. Oxytocin level kab hota hai? So when you hug someone, loved one, a lot of oxytocin is released. You experience that being one. That oxytocin is really here, it gets less. This results into less maternal investment. And again, it results into increased stress for the offspring. Again, this increased stress causes increase in the amount of methyl groups in body. So those of you who have heard about Papa Punya, आप लोगों ने जिन्होंने भी सुना होगा. So you can relate it to this. Whatever has happened in the past, you did something, you experienced something. That experience, which was stress related, is causing a cascade of events, resulting again into stress, causing more stress. Continually, this is increasing. This is a specific epigenetic mechanism. It is difficult to directly correlate all these results in humans, but looking at the autopsy reports that we just saw, who died either of suicide or highway accidents, and looking at their reported life histories, the scientists, they found a clear-cut correlation between a history of abuse and increased methylation. So we are starting to get some kind of picture on how the quality of early family environment might be explaining variations in our health outcomes and in our behavior. Are these epigenetic patterns reversible? So like epigenetic pattern is what? So if you see something in your environment, as you wake up in the morning, you see something you want, you get happy, you want what you wanted, you get it, you are happy. What you don't want to see, but it is there, you become unhappy. So this happy, unhappy response of your body is nothing but the epigenetic pattern there, the neural pattern that you have. Your brain is responding in a particular way. There is a specific path created when you see something with your eyes or with your ears or with your skin or with your nose or tongue. Whatever you see, based on that and based on your early experience related to that, your response is elicited. All this is epigenetics. They are set up early in life and are not necessarily stuck that way forever. We need to get that. Just because we are not aware of this, we have been living our life the way it is decided by our epigenetic marks of early life experiences. You can take a low nurtured rat, inject its brain with a drug that removes methyl groups, and you can make it act just like a high nurtured rat, a happy rat. The GR gene gets turned on. Cells can make more GR protein and the rat takes on a more relaxed personality. So this is what we call as demethylation. It works in other direction also. You can take a relaxed, high nurtured rat, inject its brain with the methionine, that is a source of methyl, and make it more anxious. There are a number of genes, there are a number of drugs available in market which can modify this. But they are not the exact substitute for maternal care, for sure. Can we reverse the marks? Although it may sound like someone could be epigenetically doomed to bad health if their parents didn't cuddle them, it is interesting to consider that epigenetic marks can be reversed. There are a number of studies showing that. Now, I'll not go through all those studies in the interest of time. There is a study published in the journal Development and Psychopathology. According to that, the amount of confronting and close contact between human caretakers and their babies can influence the amount of DNA methylation. An epigenetic mechanism turning the genes off. This adjustment to the children's DNA may even persist several years later, sometimes even till you die. Methylation describes the addition of a methyl group that consists hydrogen and carbon to the specific areas of DNA. These small molecules act to suppress gene expression, thus affecting how cells function. With this, you can connect to some of the, where we can talk about the Garbha Sanskar, most of you must have heard about. Now, what Garbha Sanskar is and what it is doing, and parenting specifically in the early years, particularly in the first year, is so critical for the development and growth of the child later. After the initial, it's not that the later development is not important, but in the early development, in the first year itself, whatever epigenetic imprints are formed, all these imprints are so subconscious that the person is not even aware that they are there. And the whole life of that person is guided by those patterns. As in, certain paths are already decided for you by your parents and the people around and the circumstances. And you are bound to follow those paths, whether you want or you don't want. That is what epigenetics is all about. But there is a good news that these patterns, these forms, these neural patterns, these epigenetic prints can be reversed. There are a number of ways we have been looking at. Now, this is about children that we're talking about. This happens this way. Now, what about you and me? For you and me, there are ways and means of causing what we call as unlearning. So most of you must have heard the term unlearning. So unlearning is not about what you learn from the books. Unlearning is about all that is there in your head from the past. Whatever you have accumulated in the form of your experiences and beliefs, which are disempowering, which are creating the distressing reactions, which are creating fights, flights, which are making you stop, which are making you fearful. All those are nothing but the epigenetic imprints. This can be reversed, and there are a number of ways they have been talked about, like lifestyles, diet regimens, stress relieving measures, avoiding the toxic substances in your food and surroundings. Much more than that is avoiding the toxicity here. First is getting that toxicity out. So those who are aware of what Buddha said, those who are aware of what the Indian philosophy says, what Patanjali says, what the Santa people say, they're all talking about that, removing the toxicity. There are a number of programs all over the world which are now committed for demethylation, though they don't know the term demethylation, or they don't know the term methylation or epigenetics. Actually, it is all about what you're talking, what you're thinking, what you're speaking, and what you're behaving. Getting present to that, just present to that, this is it. And creating that kind of nothingness where you are not present to that past, not present to those experiences, childhood experiences. Even if they are there, you are not getting impacted. You are not making anything wrong. Not with yourself, not with others, not with the world. You reaching that state of nothingness ongoingly is an access to get present to that moment of happiness that you were born with. Now, if we do the exercise right now, you will be experiencing that. But how far will it remain? If you do the exercise tomorrow, you will experience that. How long will that remain? If you do the practice again and again and again, you get attuned to that practice, and that access to that state of being you can create any time. that state of being alive as a human being with full power and happiness that you are born with. So there are two things that I talked about. One is the DNA that we have inherited from our parents, and you can't do anything about it. It's fixed. It's evolutionary. Your ancestors have given it to you. It is very hard to change it. The another is the epigenetic program, which is open and dynamic. It can be scripted. It can be re-scripted. The DNA cannot be, but the epigenetic mechanism can be re-scripted. You can set up a narrative that is interactive. So even though we are determined by our genes biologically, we have a certain degree of freedom, and we can set our life to a life of complete responsibility. Let's just go through these two slides. Anua, can you go to the last but one slide? Yeah, just be there. Yeah, thank you. Good. Yes. So what do you see here? Let us see, you are there at a particular moment on this planet right now, alive, with a lot of baggage carrying on your back. All that baggage is nothing but the epigenetics in your genome. Consider that. That baggage which tells you, don't do this, do this. That baggage which tells you, this is good, this is bad. That baggage that tells you, right or wrong. That baggage that tells you, desirable, undesirable. And that bends you down to such a level where you don't experience being alive. And that baggage is full of past experiences, your beliefs, prejudices, opinions, knowledge, biases about self, others, and the world. Through your worldview and the frames of references you have created over the years, which are nothing but the epigenetic prints formed again and again. If you put that baggage down, putting that baggage down is all about that spirituality we have been talking about for thousands and thousands of years. Putting that baggage down is all about that meditation. Putting that baggage down about is altering your lifestyles, altering your speech, altering your occurrence of the world, how it occurs. If you create a statement, just say, the world is beautiful. Repeat, and you see the world really appears beautiful. If you say the world is bad, people all are bad, and what you see is only bad in people and the world around. That's in your language, which is the function of being a human being. We are talking of altering that language, which is here ingrained, inscribed on your genome as the epigenome in the form of different patterns, neuro patterns. They can be switched, they can be altered, and you can create the future that you want. That's all about our spirituality. That's all about the meditation. That's all about all those mechanisms. It's not about Hinduism. It's all about all the different procedures in the world which are committed for creating nothingness ongoingly. And looking at right now at this moment, what is there for me? What can be created? How can I live my life happily, powerfully, peacefully, and make it available for others? We should use findings from the epigenetically informative designs to create happiness enhancing interventions. We can do that. Social policies, activities, and environments that enable flourishing the genetic potentials. Genetic potentials are there. A genetic potential can turn into a robber or a sant, depending on how the script is overridden with the epigenetic methylation process. So this is all about, go to the last slide, Anuva. Thank you so much. This is my grandson, and you can see that pure happiness on his face. This is what we all were born with. That purity, that experience of being alive. This moment right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, doctor. I would say, your parents give you the name, which is exactly, and very appropriate with, that matches the Dnyandeo. It's like, we call it in Hindi as a Gyan Ka Bhandar. So that really suits you. Amazing lecture, amazing knowledge. We all learned from you. And, we would expect similar thing or future lectures that coming from you on more on, go more in deep dive to, give us like as a layman to understand our life or why unnecessarily we take a stress in a life and create a stress in someone else's life is also, we'll learn how do we handle that. So I think we can open the question and answers if someone has any question and answers.
Yes, Pramod. Yes. Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you for joining. Mahesh Kulkarni had been one of my coach sometime, and he's a buddy, very near and dear to me. We are growing together. Mahesh, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Can
I ask a question?
My coach sometime. Charudat is in USA. Pramod.
Yeah.
Charudat is a Ph.D. Scholar in which university, Charudat?
NYU.
Oh yeah. I think we reached out Charudat with you, and then yes. I think we got connected on the WhatsApp. Yeah, we'll certainly plan to meet. Yeah, but someone has a question. Yeah,
I think Ajay raised his hand, so Ajay can go first.
Yeah.
Yes, Ajay. So Ajay is my क्या बोलते उसको?
Mitra for 40 years, 35 years.
Mitra for 40 years से
College.
चड्डी
Yeah, but I just have one or two questions. I'll quickly finish it.
Yes.
First question is before I ask, I regret. I regret why didn't I join your earlier lectures, and why didn't I join the beginning of your lecture today? So I joined in the middle,
regret,
but whatever I could. I need to regret.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I have a question, Dnyandeo, that recently people are talking about a lot of artificial intelligence, and people are talking about artificial womb. What is your idea about it?
So it has nothing to do with my idea, Ajay. Artificial intelligence is growing, and so right now we have Pramod as one of the, you can say the very expert person in this area. He can comment on that. But as far as you ask me, artificial intelligence is going to take away all your knowledge, all your skills in due course. That's for sure. It can't take away from you the ability and access to be human. That's the only thing that you'll be left with. All the rest, the knowledge that you have, the skills that you have as a doctor, as a surgeon, as an engineer, whatever, all that will be taken away from you completely. Even decision making, it will be very fast and very accurate and very precise than you and me can do. All that knowledge that we have is so small. The artificial intelligence can have it tremendously, right? The only thing that will be left to you and me is to be human. That's all. Being human requires now to be in inquiry what it means to be human for human being and the rest of the life on this planet. That is what is my opinion about it. So Pramod can comment on that.
I mean, there are a lot many things to talk about artificial intelligence, and for everything, whenever there is a technology applied to something.
My context is for artificial womb.
Artificial womb.
Mm-hmm.
It has come in last couple of months back that people are saying that now there will be a lab where the children will be grown in a just like a lab, and they will
Designer
be given
baby.
all the designer babies and all. Yeah. So what about it? I mean, do you think it is
about designer babies, right?
I'm talking about designer babies.
Okay, got that. So designer baby is no more a new concept now. Already 3 years back, babies are born which were designed by the Chinese scientists, and that created a lot of chaos there in the world, scientific world.
Ethical issues.
They simply did one gene manipulation, and that was the designing, right? So when we talk of designing, we reach to the, you can say, imaginations of having a perfect human being the way we want. Perfect human being, or whatever way you want, right? A specific kind of maybe a potential. So you would like to have a baby with specific height, specific color, specific nose, specific abilities. So you can write down and somebody can prescribe this kind of baby you will have. Now, that is a remote possibility in coming years. What is possible is creating and designing certain characters. So right now we are talking about treating genetic disorders, whatever is there in the form of errors, we can treat that. We are trying to find out the mechanisms and the methods to alter the gene sequences, like CRISPR-Cas technology. That is what we are doing. We are using the same technology for altering the genome also. In coming years, we'll be doing that in a larger platform for larger amount of information. But the whole of the information, the way you want it, it seems to be remote for now.
So particularly what happened, there was a video which was showing that there is a lab and there is a placenta and there is a womb. And for 9 months plus time, the children are there. People can watch. They have just donated their sperm and ova. And that is what, because how
I'm
ethically,
talking of that laboratory.
how laboratory.
I got that. Now, there was a video circulating. Now the video is saying you don't need to be, you don't need to have a man and a woman for creating babies.
Woman.
You just need to have sperms and eggs. You can obtain them from the stored laboratories. Okay.
Yeah.
So this concept is too old, Ajay. In 1996, when the first sheep was cloned, that day the possibility of no man was created. What was there was mother was required because uterus was required. Now they have created the artificial uterus out. So embryo can be created there. Now sperm can be created out of any cell. Egg can be created out of any cell. You can create the embryo and you can grow that embryo in the laboratory. So that is what you're talking about, right?
See, that's what I'm talking about, that when it comes to the science and when we come about the spirituality, are we interfering the area which we never thought that we should interfere? Are we entering into a zone where we are going to create more chaos than whatever is existing?
For me, that's no more a question. The day first test tube baby was generated in the world, that question was we actually crossed that limit.
1986. Yeah.
That no
okay,
more
my
question
another question is.
Yeah.
My another question, and I quickly wind up. My another question is that when I was going through your slides and how earlier in the medical school we had a very clear cut and very basic understanding, which every medical grad understand, is a modifiable factor and a non-modifiable factors. Now, because you understand genes at such a level, deeper level, now looking from psychiatry point of view, looking from diabetes point of view, I'm a chest physician, so I will look from lung cancer point of view, asthma point of view. Is there a point at 1 year of age or 15 years of age where by understanding epigenetics in that particular disease, can we make the difference, and how contribution apart from medicine, this is also pharmacological. You're not talking about non-pharmacological measures. These are pharmacological measures. How effective, looking into and listening to your talk from whatever time I joined, it feels that remains nothing, no area, including brain, gynecologist, the neurophysician, the neuroscientist, the psychiatric problem, the medical problem, including onco and all that. Everywhere it has a role. So where have we reached in today's science?
So if you look at right now, we have been looking for solutions to conditions from which we are suffering tremendously right now. Conditions like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, those kind of conditions. So can we have some demethylation or methylation associated with that? Can we have certain drugs related to that, they are under investigation. Can we do something at that gene level, correcting the error? So there are certain drugs already in the market. They are in trials, but they are already again being experimented on human beings. For an example, I'll tell you about the spinal muscular atrophy. Spinal muscular atrophy, baby is born, within 2 months, the baby is no more. No muscle is working, right? The baby dies. So they have brought up one medicine for spinal muscular atrophy as a gene therapy product, which is costing around 16 crore rupees right now. And it has not shown any result. So everything in the world right now is focusing on this, on finding out the solutions for the existing disorders. And at the same time, we are trying to find out how can we enhance our potentials. So if you're talking of the potential in the form of a behavior, that from the perspective of the human behavior as a father or mother or a human being in the society, definitely that can be altered. There are spiritual ways and there are pharmacological ways also. So pharmacological epigenetic drugs are there in the market. Like in the obstetric practice, people are using folic acid as a drug.
Yeah.
So many are
Yes.
coming in practice slowly.
Okay, I got it. So naturally, we will be focusing on, should be focusing on more common disorder. Like if I
Right
take,
now.
right now, because as you said, muscular dystrophy, rare disorder. What are the common disorder people suffer from? Diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, asthma, COPD, epilepsy. So because these are the common, as you said, nobody, this solution should be within. See, no science is sufficient if it doesn't reach to the more people. If it reaches to the only people who can afford 16 crore, then I don't think it is really a good science. We didn't solve anything. We just did experiments. So thank you so much. I loved interaction with you.
Thank you, dear. Love you.
Thank you. Any question? Next question?
I'm Dr. Prasad Kulkarni.
Yes,
so it was an amazing lecture. We learned a lot, many things from sir. I have one simple question. If these children who are not loved, taken care, who don't have parents, are born, and after that, in adult life, if they are loved and taken care of, are there any epigenetic?
Yes, definitely there are epigenetic mechanisms which can deactivate the earlier epigenetic imprints or reprogram, but it takes time depending on how long the baby is exposed to the stressful situations in childhood. I'll give you my own example. Like I have come from a very small village, from a very poor family, very you can say distressful situation. I took on being a doctor in childhood itself, and I became a doctor. On the way, I was so distressed. I was taking a lot many efforts, doing a lot of activities and studying hard, proving all the time that I'm best, that I was doing. But then I was not living my life as a human being. I was always unhappy, distressed. And this happened even till my MBBS and even after my MBBS, when I got married for a number of years with my wife, with my family members. I was all the time so irritable, so upset, so egoistic, all the time hiding something or avoiding something or wanting something, always in action, but unhappy, unsatisfied. For the last few years, I have found that access. And now I can create that happiness for myself the moment I want it. That's possible. But it takes time. It's not one day, but you can experience that right now. If you want to, right now you can experience that moment of happiness where you are being yourself completely. And when you practice this again and again, when you unlearn whatever is here over a long duration, definitely those patterns can be altered. First, they can be completely removed. New patterns can be created. In the language of leadership, we have been talking about putting the past in the past. creating nothingness, and then creating a new future that guides you this moment right now. It's not pursuing something like tomorrow I will do this and then I'll be happy. It's not about that. You being happy right now and then doing whatever you want to do. That's what we've been talking about. That's about epigenetics. Dr. Prasad, is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much, dear. Thank you. Dr. Prasad had been a colleague in Grand Medical College we have been there for so many years, teaching medical college students. Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
It's great,
Yes.
doctor. You agreed and accepted. I think the most another important thing is like you accepted that you have gone through that thing, and only because if you don't accept, I think it's very difficult to make a change otherwise.
Yeah, yeah,
Living in the false belief is a wrong thing.
absolutely. Being with it, just be there, accept it as it is. And then there is a possibility of reprogramming.
Yeah. Any other question? I mean,
Vishali? Yes, Dr. Vishali. You are muted. Can you unmute yourself? Pramod?
yeah,
they
I will
have-
ask her. Yeah, I'll just check to unmute.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah, Dnyandeo, this is Shilpa. Hi.
Hey, Shilpa,
Excellent
why
talk.
Vishali written?
That's my name now.
Kya hua? I didn't know that. Yeah, great. Thank you so much for coming here.
Excellent talk. But
Thank you
I
so
was
much.
just wondering, being a gynecologist, I think introducing spirituality, meditation, yoga to pregnant women and early on in children in school itself will at least have some control on the epigenetics, right?
Absolutely powerful.
So when we are talking about Garbha Samskar or whatever, you're just now have given us a purely a scientific base to everything.
Yes.
I think as gynecologists, we need to stress more on this aspect because we don't
Absolutely.
believe in drugs in our pregnant women. So it would
Actually, Shilpa,
really
when I was
be.
talking to Ajay, na,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
what we are about to look at now.
Yes,
Because
correct.
the rest of it, the skill and the knowledge will be taken care by the machines.
Correct. And this is,
What
I
is
think,
it?
what everybody's been telling all throughout in our, particularly in the Indian setup, in whatever happened in our, way back, and nobody seemed to accept it. And now that there is a scientific background, we probably couldn't put that scientific background to it. It couldn't, I mean, I'm sure it was there, but it was
I was
amazing.
the opponent of Garbha Sanskar for some time, Shilpa.
Yes.
And it was
No.
promoted like it is impacting the baby growth and all that. I was the opponent. And I'm the proponent.
No. Anything that is going to make the mother feel good is going to definitely have a direct effect. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Excellent talk. Excellent.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
dear. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Can I add something, Gyandev?
Yes, Ajay.
Yeah, what Shilpa is saying is absolutely a very genuine concern of an experienced gynecologist
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
not only just believed in the science, but at the same time want to know what has happened for so many years and how our culture or or any other country. I'm not just saying and about my India and it's like, but the what I believe that in the earlier part, maybe 50 years back or 100 years back, there people were scientific, but because people did not have the books and the word called this is science,
Okay.
maybe in that context, उसको भाषा दी गई थी धर्म की. So if
Correct.
something was related to some spiritual practices, किसी के घर में बच्चा हुआ, किसी घर में डेथ हुई, तो ये करना चाहिए, वो करना चाहिए, उसको धर्म का नाम देने के बाद में लोग बोलते थे हाँ ये करना चाहिए, don't ask me. Now because people became wiser and by reading, the purpose of education was to remove the doubt and be clear. Exactly opposite started happening. People say I know everything, but they were more confused than the clarity. And now we are talking about that. See, we didn't understand My grandfather didn't understand, but they were doing what we are now exploring.
Yes.
They were following day in and out. They are more happy. They lived longer. They didn't have all the lifestyle diseases we have. So we have all created ourselves. Let's accept it. We have created.
Yeah.
We have to find the solution also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ajay.
Nice to see you, Shilpa. And nice
Oh,
to
good
hear
to
your
see
new
you.
name.
Yes.
Missed you in the Lonavala GT.
I know. So, but
Renaming
ex-Shilpa
के लिए हमको बुलाया नहीं, शिल्पा.
I think
That-
Anil has some question. Anil
Yes,
Shinde is
yes,
raised.
Anil.
And then Olive Singh has
Yes.
some. So we'll take one by one.
Hello, Dnyandeo sir.
Yes, Anil. Yeah. So you are Dr. Anil from Pune, right?
No, Anil is from Canada.
Okay, got that. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I joined from Canada. First of all, Pramod Dada, thank you for giving this opportunity for all of us. Having Dnyandeo sir and listening to him is excellent. These are definitely very different topics for all as a young parents, right?
Yeah.
And knowing this, what the scientific reason behind what the behavior, what we observe with us or within our children's as well, right? So thank you so much. The one question I have is, being a young parent, nowadays we see that all our children's, right, they are more of a gadget oriented, right? We are slowly fear that we're losing the human touch, and sometimes it's a difficult parenting at this stage of when kids are too much gadget oriented. They are into the games, they are into virtual world, they believe into having more virtual friends. Now in this kind of era, being a parents, how do we deal with this situation? Like, is there anything will be either any suggestion for the young parents like me or at other parents? How do we deal with this situation to make our kids again be value that human being, be respecting each other, be create that love around them? How do you do that?
Beautiful. So Anil, this is one of the questions that we all have now in the world. Young parents to be, or those whose children are in the age group of 1 to 5, they are literally worried about this, and this problem is going to worsen in coming days. So right now, what we have to look at is, what is that you want your child to be? Do you have an answer to that? And if you have an answer, there is some problem. That is one thing. Just inquire there. I don't have any solution for that. Second, whatever you want to see your child to grow, the way you want to see your child grow, are you living yourself that way? You don't want your child to see the mobile and the videos and the television. What are you doing? What are you speaking? What you want your child to speak and listen to? What are you speaking and listening to? Your child is going to learn so much from unspoken language. Whatever you speak is a very little of that learning process. But if you create the speech in a very programmed way, well thought of, with intentionality, is going to have an impact on your child. Even if your child is 2 months or 1 month old, that is going to have the impact on the child when you are intentional about it. That is seen not only through your words, voice, from your face, but the space all around you. It is perceived by the child as it is. There is what we call as mirroring effect. Now, as I said, I'm a grandfather now. We have a boy 3 months old in house. I'm being with the child, and I'm looking at what can be there such that the child experiences ongoingly the space of growth and development with happiness. Now, when you are inquiring into this inquiry, first of all, this inquiry itself is very powerful and much needed. Second, you can create your own. So the child is not going to understand anything that you are going to do, but the child is going to receive as it is. You whistle, And you see the child, even 3 months old child will start whistling, making those moments.
That's right.
You will see that the child mimics what is there all around. There is a lot of curiosity, and the perceptibility of the child, the ability to get the world is immense, enormous, beyond our imagination. Take that into consideration. And what is the environment you are going to provide such that the child will listen without you saying something? In unsaid, there is a lot that the child gets. Keep speaking, keep communicating, showering love, real, getting really connected, not just passing time, or you can say like करना है. बहुत सारे parents मैं ये इस तरह से देखता हूँ कि they just do the thing because they have to do it. Being with the child, being a child with the child, just being there fully. So there is a mirroring. Where the child is, you are there. You are just like that child. Nothing is there here. अगर यहाँ पर कुछ है, if there is something here in your head, so I have to do this. Now I have to do this. ये कब तक इसको मैं इससे बात करूँगा? So there is a lot of work to do. If you are in stress, the child will pursue everything. If you are clear, clean, being completely 100% with the child that time, you will experience that happiness, which we are talking about. The child will experience that. And that is what is creating those patterns. So there is no fixed formula for this. Simple thing is, as a parent, what is that you are looking forward to? So you have a control over your child for certain years. Thereafter, the child is not going to listen to you. The child is not your property. The child will decide on his own path. Preparing the child for deciding the path, which is going to be most appropriate for living, being human, happily, powerfully, peacefully all the time, is the job of you being a parent. Just being in that inquiry itself will give you so many accesses instead of getting answers or solutions from anybody. No science, no spirituality, nobody else, no elder, no experienced, knowledgeable person can give you that solution. You just being in that inquiry, what is that I really want my child to live like? What does it look like to have my child all the time happy? Though it is not possible to be all the time happy for anyone, but most of the time happy, powerful, peaceful, and creating that for the people around. Are you being that? Are you willing to develop yourself in that? Where the child will grow is a question to be with, is the inquiry to be with. Simply being in that inquiry itself will give you access.
Wonderful. I completely agree, sir. That's right. That's right. I think these are the very good thoughts. So thank you, sir. I think the one thing I learned from all of this is, I think spending a quality time, creating that sense of environment around our kids, I think that's more important. And giving them a direction, what's right, what's wrong. Not every time to be a teacher, but sometimes we need to be true parents. Be with them as a friend, understand them, and basically then try to be in their world. You know, I think that's important. Very nice, sir.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Anil. Great question.
Thank you. So next question is from Olive Singh.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Olive.
Sir, actually, I don't have any words because from last 1.5 years, whatever I am listening as a parent or as a teaching in the profession, I am an anatomist. So, sir, whatever you have told, like connecting medicine scientifically to spirituality means I cannot express. I just have one query, like in one of my, I can say relatives, I have a person who is having depression, or I can say more than depression. Like you told epigenetics can change, like it is a very good thing. The concept was so clear, like upon genetics, something can be done, that is epigenetics. So is it possible, like, is it possible that if along with the medicines, like apart or instead of taking any antidepressant or any medicine, something can be done by that person to remain happy, but he is not believing in meditation. Problem is this. So as you told, your life experience also from last many years, can you suggest something at this point so that I can suggest him, like, he's not believing in meditation or spirituality as such, but having those bad mood swings. So apart from medicines, can he do something or try something so that it can work epigenetically?
Yeah, yeah.
Please,
So
please guide,
very,
sir.
very good question. And this is what we all are dealing with most of the time. So we have our own limitations of looking at the world. So sometimes, like I said, I was against something. Now I am for something. That happens. So I was
Sir.
opponent of Garbha Sanskar. Now I am proponent of Garbha Sanskar. That happens. That shift happens. Now, when does that shift happen is when you experience something. Now, in conditions of depression, with or without medicine, if you are taking that person to a state of normality, where the person is experiencing being self, the person is experiencing something beyond depression, there is a possibility of creating something new. There is a possibility of actually guiding and directing the person, and the person himself seeing the possibility of getting out of it. So with medicine, definitely depression, you give that medicine for a certain period, reduce the medicine, and during that period, you have certain conversations around that person, maybe in the form of counseling or continual connectivity with that person. So somebody being connected with me as a human being completely creates a kind of bond and love. That bond, when somebody sees, if there is a trust created out of that, so if a child, mother says something, the child does because there is 100% trust. And inside of that trust, there is no question. And that can be created out of love to the person who is whether depressed or anxious or whatever way. You creating, if you are taking that responsibility yourself, if you want that person to come out of that, you taking full responsibility, accepting 100% whatever way that person is, and then offering medication for a certain period, bringing that person to a level of receptivity where he listens. Before that, you are listening to that person 100%.
Sir.
There is a possibility of that shift.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah,
we gathered a lot from you today. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I mean, you know, we at Attarde Foundation, we try to keep doing a lot of events like this. The past, we run 3 events on a brain, like one of our, like someone who I know him in California. He's like, you know, he's a Dnyandeo Ph.D. and specializing in neurosurgery. He conducted 3 sessions on brain-related things, and Dr. Dnyandeo Chopade conducted a couple of sessions on genetics. We conducted a couple of sessions on a few other things like finance and all, like very typical subjects. And we do a lot of physical work also. Like last year we did food donation. Before that we sent like BiPAP machines, ventilators, and oxygen concentrate to India. So Attarde Foundation, I just wanted to share this with those who don't know, is we recently been approved as a you know, as a certifying US President certifying volunteer award foundation, where we can recommend someone's name who works with us as a volunteer. We can recommend that name for a presidential award, and for by doing certain number of hours of you know, volunteership, especially those who are in the US, only for especially in the US, they get like a letter from US president, they get a certificate from US president, and they can kind of medals from the US president. We become an approved like, I don't want to call agency, but approved organization to offer this kind of recognition to the volunteers from the US government or US president.
Heartiest congratulations, Pramod.
Thank you.
Great
So let's take a
work,
next
great
question. Yeah, so let's take a next question
Ganesh Rani.
from Ganesh Rani.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks a lot for that excellent speech and very valuable knowledge.
Thank you.
My question is, I mean, we understand all these things, and even it has been there in our ancient sciences, yoga. But question is, like in today's world, modern world, people expect like immediate results. Like just rather than switching on and off the epigenetic genes, they would resort for something which is very quick, right? So normally people go with the flow, right? So with this situation in mind, how do we make this like spirituality, yoga, which are the holistic approach of treatment more popular? Like any thoughts on this?
Right. Yeah. So great question. See, if you want to experience excitement right now, what would you do?
I will do the things that I like.
Right. Okay. How long that happiness will stay? If you do something that you like, how long will that stay?
As long as I continue to do that.
Perfect. Now, are you doing some spiritual activities? Are you doing meditation?
I do yoga, pranayama, meditation. Yes.
Perfect. Now consider there is a spectrum on which there are people at one end. There are people all the time happy, 100% happy all the time. There is no moment they are unhappy. Yeah. Consider that possibility, which is remote on this planet right now.
Yes.
Consider the other end where people are all the time unhappy. No trace of happiness is there. We all are in between. We are somewhere on this spectrum. Some are nearer that right end, some are nearer to the left end. We all are in the pursuit of reaching to that right end. Now, we are hurrying ourselves to get that happiness, and more you hurry, more you become unhappy. That is what we don't understand. People who really want happiness immediately, they are never going to get happy for a simple reason. They don't understand what happiness is. Happiness is never out. It has to be seen in, and that requires you to confront who you are, including your thought process of what is right and what is wrong. As to meditation is wrong, or it will take a long time, or something like the ancient wisdom is old. These are the thoughts people have. That's why they are blocked. They don't want to confront that. That confrontation, they are uneasy with that confrontation. So this happens, shifts happen. People who are completely against spirituality, they become completely spiritual. There are examples in the society. Those who never used to follow any spiritual guideline, now they are completely following and prescribing spiritual guidelines. There are examples, and that happens. That happens at the moment when they get present to that happiness, that experience. As I shared with, I don't remember, with Olive, I think, this is possible. So we all are pursuing happiness in one or the other way, right? Or that is like, I'll do something tomorrow and then I'll be happy. After this education is completed, I'll be happy. After I get this much of money or this car or this house, I'll be happy. We all are doing it that way only. Not being happy right now, but waiting happiness to happen out, the circumstances to align for our happiness. We are all waiting for that. And more you want it, more you become uneasy. More you want it immediately, just in want, not in inquiry. You become more uneasy, more unhappy. So there is definitely an environment which can be created. The people who are not aligned for this, when they get in touch with this kind of environment, there is a possibility of self. Or otherwise, there are biochemical pursuits. So people are going for drugs.
Yeah.
They are experiencing that bliss, right? The only thing is they have to go it again and again. What's wrong with that? If they're experiencing that bliss, there is nothing wrong. Who is saying it is wrong? Our governments are saying it. Our society is saying it, because the society will be impacted because of their behavior. Government will be impacted financially. That's why we say no. What is wrong with drinking alcohol in India? Because the rest of the people, they don't want you to be drunk and experience that, where you go beyond. Actually, happiness is something that we are pursuing by different ways, but we are not getting happy. Drinking alcohol, for some time you are getting it, then again you want it, again you want it. You are wasting money, you are wasting time, you are damaging the family, you are damaging the social structure. Permanent happiness without damaging anyone, creating it for yourself and people around, requires you to be in that inquiry of what it looks like to be happy all the time. You can create that the moment you want it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I get that one. I think my question was more like, how do we make it more popular, right? It's not about me. I'm talking about more of like.
I got that. I've completely got that. So the question is coming from you. So when you want it make popular, when you want to make it popular, you can take it that way. So the people who are around you who are not aligned to this, what are we talking about is popularities, people who don't know, so reaching them, and people who are not aligned to, even if they know, how to penetrate them.
Yeah.
So penetrating the people requires you to make it available again and again, again and again, with that aura that you are living with. You experiencing that. You're making it available for people. When they experience with you, you being so calm, peaceful, powerful all the time, they will want it.
Yeah, but as an individual, see, I'll have a very limited circle of influence, right? So, see, something like, is there anything we can like strategize and make it like more like, you know, the way US always does, like anything they do, that becomes like a global brand and we start following that blindly. But
Right.
I think from India, we don't do anything like that.
So in the last few years, we are saying this in India happening, right?
Hmm.
So as an individual, you and I, we have a limited circle.
Hmm.
You can influence few people. Can you influence the influencer? The one who will influence the rest?
Hmm. Probably.
That's what is happening in India. So people who were talking against now are following it all over the world, not only in India. So you have that ability, you are living, and people in your contact or in your space will experience that power, and then they will get transformed. So you directly touch those who are the influencers.
Okay.
Opinion makers. So consider, for example, in India, we have the senior citizen organization. So 13% of population of India is senior citizen now. Now influence the higher level person sitting there. He will sip it there in all the groups where the activity can be run. This way in schools, tap the schools. So start from the education system. Can we include that? Why not?
Yeah.
Who is deciding the policy? The people we recruit, na?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we influence them. They will influence the rest.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, doctor. So there is another raised by, I think there's one more question by Dr. Vishali
Shilpa, you
Rajadyaksha.
have some question?
There's a hand raised there, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
No
Yes,
question. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't think we'll wait for a few minutes if someone has a question.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yes.
I would like also to share one and ask you the question also, doctor. If you allow
Yes.
me. So what happened is like 2 years before, there's a new movie released called Matrix 4. And I always talk about that. So I wanted to go with my daughter, wanted to go. So I said, okay, let's go and watch. But before we go and watch, said I wanted to watch Matrix 1 also, so I can just link it up properly. So the Matrix 1, which I watched a long time before, which is actually made in 1997. And when I watched that in 2020, I think 2021 again, I understood more. And I would like to give you the topic around it. Probably you can give some inputs based on that. So after watching that movie, which was made in 97, we gave the name to the movie called as a, rather than calling as a Matrix 1 or Matrix, called as a Maya. So the movie is all about, there are the machines or in the form of humans controlling the entire human generations. And in that human generations, whoever wants to go to the spiritualism or who are thinking about liberating and being happy, the machine thinks they are the terrorists. The people who are thinking that I want to be happy, I want to get liberated, I don't want to be controlled by this Maya Jal, which has been created by these machines. That's all about the movie, which is created in 1997. That time when we watched it, we watched it more as an action. Now when watched again, I literally understood the meaning around it. So we might reach to that stage, or we are on that stage that, we're being managed and controlled, where our thoughts are forced to, follow certain things. In that case, what you would recommend, and that all creates the anxiety and all those kind of things, right? So spiritualism is definitely a solution around it. The question is, how do we pass it in more simpler way to the next generation? I'm always thinking like, how do I pass it to my daughters, or maybe in a like who is right now there, like, or maybe in her generation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Especially in the people who are in the US or outside the India.
Right. Yeah. So, Pramod, over the years, whatever I have learned, I'll just share my experience. Like getting present to whatever is there in the world right now, as it is, without interpreting, judging, evaluating, without projecting what is likely to happen, creating fear at this moment. Without that, you're getting present to this moment at right now. In this whole universe, whatever is there is whole, perfect, complete. You, people around, and the whole technology or whatever is there is nothing wrong with that. You getting present to that first. There is nothing wrong. We are looking at something from a concern it should not happen. When we say something should not happen, the possibility that happening is very high. When we say something is likely to happen from our past experiences and we relate it to our survival, the fear of death, we're talking of the fear of death of self and the people around whom we love, definitely that's creating a problem. It's all originating from nothingness. The power is originating from nothingness, which comes from accepting the world the way it is not, as it is, without making anything wrong. Being grateful for you being alive right now. Being grateful for people who have all those means of destroying you, but not doing that. Being grateful to all those people who are supporting you to live. Being grateful for everything, you being that, is the lesson for the children. They being grateful for whatever is there. And then inside of that, they being able to create the world of happiness. Now, there are things which are not there in your control or my control as an individual. Is the entire human entity on this planet right now, which is thinking. So if you look at the human mind, is the mind of Pramod, Attarde, Dnyandeo Chopade, Anuva, Nilkant, Ganesh, Umakant, and all those 8 billion people on this planet right now, cumulatively thinking what to do, what not to do tomorrow. When it comes to you as an individual living your life, the power comes when you accept whatever is there, you are a part of that. There is nothing wrong there. And whatever is there is supporting you survive. You being alive at this moment is the news of the world right now. There is no other news. Nothing wrong has happened. Whatever has happened was happening earlier, is happening now, will happen in future also. But if you look at the whole world without being judgmental, without getting attached, you will see the beauty, the way we are growing, with or without the technology. We have lived all those dreadful circumstances in the past, and we will live all the coming circumstances also. Power will come only with acceptance, and our children will see that in us. If we are coming from this should not happen, they will be so fearful of the future. Where are they going? Where will they go? Yeah. So that is what the access I see is this, like you accepting the world, the people, whatever is there, and you yourself, the way it is not, completely. Nothing is wrong anywhere. Inside of that space, something is possible.
True. Very true. Thanks.
Yes. Yes, Amlangi. Nice to see you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, Amlangi Nande.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you unmute, Amlangi?
Hello, am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So nice to be a part of this very vital and vibrant conversation. Actually, I just was thinking at the back of my mind when you were talking about the detoxification effect of means during that epigenetic means that interpretation of effects of the epigenetics. So I just was wondering that when I was going through the phase of energy healing, during that phase, I experienced all those detoxification processes. So can we find any basis of that detoxification in the form of epigenetics? Means what is your interpretation? I just wanted to know.
Yes, Amlangi. Yes. So Amlangi, we are talking of the same thing. In my opinion, the methods are different. Intention is the same. Intention is generating the energy, getting it back, getting that power back, the power of being a human being, which is blocked by all those experiences we had from childhood so far, or maybe the experiences that we inherited from our parents. Can we unlearn them? Unlearning involves number of methods. One of the methods that you're talking about is that energy healing. So what are you healing actually is whatever is damaged. What is damaged?
Yes, means I think at the energy level, means whenever I'm experiencing all those things, I find the answers at the energy level. Means but what is lacking at this point of time is the scientific evidence of that those changes which are occurring at the energy level. So can we take the support of epigenetics to prove this as a scientific way of healing, means the energy healing? That is what I wanted
Definitely
to know.
we can take support of that. And see, what we're talking about is there is a mechanism called as epigenetics, which is involved in creating experiences over a period which are accumulated. And we are talking about your experience, my experience as an individual, right? So happiness can't be measured in the form of some scale, but you subjectively can say how happy you are. So if I ask you on the scale of 10, how much happy are you right now? We can create that. And we can look at the epigenetic phenomenon related to that over a period of some methodology. The methodology that you are using is of energy healing. So when you are a healer, you are experiencing something yourself. And the person who is getting healed is experiencing something for herself or himself. Now that experience of that person is when that person is intentional about getting healed and you are intentional about healing that person, is bound to impact the epigenetics.
Okay.
If that person is not intentional, is getting healed and is not having trust in the method that you are using, whatever method you are using, whatever intentionality you have, it's not going to impact that. It requires the basis of trust.
But when I get the results in animals who are not aware that they are being treated,
No, it's not necessarily being aware, it's being trustworthy. See, animal is more trustworthy than human being. Animals are more trustful than human beings. They don't need to know. They can experience just your presence, you being there, they experience who you are. You with me?
means that is more like a faith healing, you mean to say?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is not about the faith on something or someone, it is about your own conversations, about your own beliefs. It's all about whatever is accumulated here.
But
that energy is not coming from anywhere. It is not coming from surrounding. It is coming from their own source. That is there. They have blocked it, suppressed it.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Amlangi.
Thanks. I think it's almost like we started at 9:30, 11:45. So we didn't even realize that we spent like more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
The session went so well. So I just wanted to ask if there is anyone has a quick question.
So before anyone has any question, I really want to thank each one of you for giving me this opportunity, having such platform to express the thoughts. And so this requires a lot of inquiry, and that's an opportunity for me to inquire myself. When I'm talking to you, I inquire with myself, and then only I can talk to you. So that opportunity I got out of this platform. Thank you so much, Pramod, for always being bringing me in that space and giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Attarde Foundation. Thank you, Anuva. Thank you, everyone. Those who joined.
I have a last comment.
Yes.
I have a last comment. May I?
Yes, doctor.
अच्छा होगा तो कर. अच्छा comment.
अच्छा ही है.
क्या बोलूं?
No. See, I have only one, point. कि मेरे दोस्त ज्ञानेश्वर में एक बहुत बड़ी खामी है कि उसमें एक्चुअली कुछ भी खामी नहीं. I just sorry. I mean, I just slipped into another world. Gyandev, what I need to do is because now you and me can understand in the language which you speak. I feel that when we want to help, really help, but that person doesn't know whether he needs help, we need to be in a vocabulary, in a language which is easily understood. Now, what I was understanding when I caught up with your webinar, what I understood that a person who has read about medicine, who knows something, he is the only person who will be able to catch up. So we have to really, I mean, this is what is my comment. You can take it as a suggestion that we have to make it in a way where the illiterate person also can understand. So probably what I read about Gita, I read about Vedas during my internship, just few of pages. I understood that was their way hundreds of years back to tell to the people in the language they can understand. So as I rightly understand, as you rightly said, we have to, just like you had example of a small child, so you have to be on the same floor, same page. If the child is on the ground floor and whatever I feel myself very intelligent, very big boss on the 11th floor, I will not be able to, however loud I speak, I will not be able to communicate at a spiritual
Got that.
level.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Thank you so much.
So one thing, Ajay, so if you look at the crowd in today's this thing meeting, 30% of people were doctors. That is one. Second, those who were not doctors, those who didn't have this kind of language, whatever they got, they got. Whatever they got is very powerful. So we don't intend to make people understand everything. It's not a classroom teaching.
Yeah.
So in such kind of programs, it is simply, even if you get one statement, it's not like understanding, but which is going to transform you.
Very true. I think we got the message. We got the message. Even those who are like non-medical people, we also got the message. Sometimes little hard to remember some of the words, but like at least we understood like what
not necessary. Not necessary.
No, I think
very well.
that was
I think
very
there is a question from Dr. Shabana.
Yes, Dr. Shabana, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Unmute. Dr. Shabana is again a colleague, a professor in Grand Medical College, Mumbai.
Thank you, sir. This was an amazing information you have shared with all of us. I just want to ask how to educate the people to de-learn the things.
We ourselves do that. People will get educated around us. That's the only way.
How should we start?
You can't teach people. You can make people experience you doing it and then do it. They do it. See, transformation doesn't happen in learning the way we have been learning in schools and colleges. It's not a teaching learning mechanism. It's an experiential mechanism. When you take stand for that, I really am committed for transforming my surrounding, people experiencing that. I first do it with myself. When you be happy, you will see people around you getting happy. You creating that experience yourself ongoingly, they will inquire, what are you doing? Let me just see. Teaching is not going to make this happen because, see, in the world, it is said for the last 2200 years, no one has got Buddhism, Buddhatva. Happiness is missing in the world for the last 2200 years. That is what is being said. Why is this so? Because we are in the process of learning and teaching that. There are so many Babas and so many organizations and so many, they are actually doing this. But people are not getting happy. Why? Because those who are preaching, they are not being themselves happy. Happiness, you see the child, you be happy and you see the child being happy. You see the child happy and you get happy. That's a mirroring. So this has to be shared only in your living, not in preaching, not in teaching. You creating that for yourself intentionally and being intentional about sharing that with people around you. So that's what my perception is, Dr. Sabha.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. This was very amazing and very informative, knowledgeable session, Doctor. I think what we learned from here is experience things. And if you want to teach someone else, I don't, teaching is the wrong word, but like, you set yourself as an example so that other would can experience it rather. Yeah. I think it's 2.5 hours now. We should conclude the session. It's in India. I think it's 10:30 or 10 o'clock, 10:30. And thanks everyone for joining the session. We'll keep trying doing some either in webinars. We do a lot of practice physical events here in the US. We taught a lot of people like during pandemic, like more than 300, 400 people. We taught yoga and we used to do a lot, in the early morning, from 4 o'clock. So those who are in the US, if you are wanted to stay connected with me for any kind of volunteer work or any kind of involvement in doing some of the certain things, please send me a message, and we'll see how we can work out with that. We do a lot of programs in India also. In India, a lot of events like in tribal area, blind schools, and so many things. I'm conducting the programs over there in India also. So if somebody wants to get connected, being a volunteer, support, any kind of thing, please contact me and let us know. And at the end, thank you, doctor. We'll stay connected, and we'll see what we can, offer, to the audience in future.
Sure, Pramod. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
You can pause the recording.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.